Hello and welcome to the Fixit Shed. So I needed to buy a car and I hate going to a traditional used car lot, so I wanted to try buying a car online and see how that worked out and tell you about my experience. So primarily I looked at Carvana and CarMax, and they both offer trial periods, so you can try out the car, and if you don't like it you can return it. So with Carvana you can have the car for up to a week and 400 miles before you have to decide whether or not you're going to keep the car. CarMax has 30 days, 1,500 miles, so you do have a longer period of time that you can have the car before you actually have to make a final decision about whether or not you're going to keep it. I have a Ford Maverick on order for almost a year now, and my Ford Explorer Sport Track is getting the job done, but when my son is off at college, it's the only vehicle I have, and I wanted to get something that I have a little bit more confidence in going into the winter. So I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted, but I knew that I wanted all-wheel drive. I wanted something that got a little bit better gas mileage than my Ford Explorer Sport Track, and I wanted something with low miles on it. I decided to go with a Ford Escape. So I did search both sites, for CarMax and Carvana, and found exactly what I was looking for on the Carvana site. So it was 2015 Ford Escape all-wheel drive with 31,000 miles on it. I ordered it on October 4th, and it was scheduled for delivery on October 17th. Could have probably gotten it a little bit sooner, but my schedule didn't work out, so that was the earliest that I could receive it. So on October 17th, the car arrived as scheduled. I took it out for a test drive, looked it over, but probably not as carefully as I should have. I figured I had a week to determine whether or not I wanted to keep the car, so I was going to go over it more thoroughly. It seemed to work as I expected while the driver was here, so we finished the transaction, and he went on his way. So after the driver left, I noticed two things. One, the rear wiper was broken off or missing. Probably should have caught that while he was here, but I missed it. So, and number two, it's not all-wheel drive. It's actually a front-wheel drive car. So that was a deal breaker, and I immediately called Carvana back, and I was like, hey, you know what, I don't want this car because it's not as it was advertised. So they said that I could either get a full refund and they would come back and pick up the car, or I could exchange it for a different vehicle. So while I was on the phone with the customer service rep, I found a 2016 Ford Escape all-wheel drive. I did verify that it was all-wheel drive, with a 2-liter turbo engine, the EcoBoost, and so I decided to exchange the one that I got for that one. So a little while actually after delivery, the driver did call me back and told me that the rear wiper arm was broken. They knew about it and Carvana was going to fix it. But I told him that it probably wasn't an issue because I was going to be returning it, because the bigger problem was it was not all-wheel drive. So now at this point there are some logistical issues. So the money was secured by the first vehicle and needed to flip from the first vehicle to the second vehicle. So that wasn't happening in time, and so it was going to delay my delivery date that I had selected. Also, the insurance card, for some reason, they told me that it needed to have a start date of 2 days prior to my delivery rather than on the day of my delivery. So those two things combined were going to end up delaying my delivery date. Also, I noticed that the vehicle was listed as a 2-liter turbo EcoBoost engine, and it was actually a 1.6-liter turbo EcoBoost engine. So that in itself wouldn't be a deal breaker, but it was just going to be an added hassle to get it fixed, adjusted in the price and whatnot after the sale. So I decided at this point I'm just going to cancel the sale and I'm going to move on. Alright, so while this whole deal was not going the way I had hoped it would, I must say I was quite satisfied with the customer service people that I spoke to. I never felt like there was any pressure to complete the sale. My money was all refunded eventually, and the representatives were always pleasant even when I was obviously frustrated. I did complain at one point that the refund process was going to take way too long, so they were telling me 10 to 15 days to rebuild the contract, whatever that means. And then after that, then they would pick up the vehicle, and then a few days after that, they would refund the money into the bank account. So to me, in my head, I'm like, this is going to take like 3 weeks. That's ridiculous. So I'm not sure if my complaining actually had any effect or not, but the car was picked up and the money was refunded within a week. So I was very pleased with that, and I appreciated that if they did in fact expedite it. So one good thing that came out of all of this is that I did have the Ford Escape to drive for a few days, and I came to the realization that this wasn't the car for me. So I'm very partial to Ford products. I've had lots of Mustangs and Escorts and Focus and trucks, but this car just didn't feel right to me, so I was able to determine that I wanted to look at a different vehicle. Alright, so after doing some research, I decided another vehicle that I could look at was the Toyota RAV4. So I went to the CarMax website and I found a few older models that were low mileage that I thought would be a decent fit. But I haven't driven one, kind of like the Ford Escape, so I thought before I make a purchase, I want to go and check one out. So I did go to the CarMax website and I checked out my local dealership to see if they had any, and they had a 2015 RAV4. I wasn't sure that this was exactly one that I was interested in, but they had it, so I could go over and I could test drive it. This RAV4 was a 2015 all-wheel drive. It's the limited edition, so it had some extra bells and whistles that I don't usually go for. I'm usually a more utilitarian. I want something very basic that works. But I wanted to go in and test drive it, and then that way I could see whether or not I liked it. If I liked it, then I could go back onto the CarMax site, and any of the surrounding dealerships that had the Toyota RAV4s that I was more interested in, I could have them shipped to that store, and that way I could check those out. So my wife and I went over and we took a test drive in it, and we really liked this vehicle. It's not what we normally buy, but it had less than 23,000 miles on it. It was in really good condition, and it already had a trailer hitch installed on it. I was going to install one, but this saves me the trouble. So at this point, we're actually still waiting for our refund from Carvana, so CarMax held the car for a week for us. CarMax has no haggle pricing, so you can't really negotiate on the price, but during my final inspection, I did notice that the front tires had pretty significant dry rotting on them. CarMax had replaced the rear tires before we even came to look at it, but the front tires they were dry rotted, and one of them had been pinched, like somebody hit a curb or something with it. You can't haggle on the price, but they did agree to replace these front tires for free. Alright, so I think Carvana's biggest problem is that they need to work on the accuracy of their listings. So they do a 150-point inspection on your vehicle. I can't imagine that nobody noticed that it wasn't all-wheel drive as it was listed. I was very pleased with their customer service though, but would I buy from them again? I'm going to say probably not. But if I did, if they had a vehicle that I couldn't find someplace else and I really wanted it, I might, but I would be darn sure to check it out very carefully and make sure that everything is as it says it is in the listing before I hit that buy button. So CarMax was a super friendly, low pressure place to buy a car. Even though they're considered an online auto dealer, they do have brick and mortar locations, which makes it nice to be able to go in and see the vehicles in person without the normal hassles of a used car dealership. So now as far as prices of the vehicles, to me Carvana and CarMax seem to be pretty competitive. So if you want to see more about the RAV4, I'm going to be making some more videos. When I do, I will put a link to the playlist over here. So if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, please consider subscribing. And if you want to help support this channel, please click the join button and become a member below. Thank you. Take care.